Hi there, it's me again, Mags from the Next Decade, and I wanted to tell you about something interesting that happened to me today. I had a call from the local newspaper. It's because I spent the past 2 weeks in Thailand, but I wasn't only a tourist, I was at a Scrabble tournament. So, anyone who knows me, this is my big hobby. I love it. I chase Scrabble tournaments around the globe. And the one in Thailand was really special because it had 450 people, um, five different divisions. As usual, I was in the bottom division, but of the 80 something people, I came sixth. I won money, $600. I've already spent about 1,200 of it, but that's beside the point. Anyway, the local newspaper want to write about it because I represented Switzerland, and they found that interesting that an Irish woman was doing that, and we had the call. So I had sent them a little bit about it and a few photos. And about 2 minutes into the call, the journalist said to me, "So I see by your photo you're not young, or you're not, you're not the youngest." He may have even said you're an older person. I can't remember, but he specifically alluded to my age in that I'm not young. He must have said you're not young because my reply was, I am young. I'm only 61. To which he laughed, but also agreed to. He said, "Well, that's true. That's not old." It got me thinking, when are we old? When do we call ourselves old? And when are we young? I know that when I turned 10, I was super excited because I felt I'm old now, and I did. I When I was 10, I knew everything. I know nothing now. So it made me wonder, what these labels do to us and how they differentiate us. At the Scrabble tournament, the youngest player, well, it was players, it was two twin boys. They were about 7 years old playing tournament Scrabble. I mean, when I was 7 years old, I was eating crayons and learning to tie my shoelaces, not playing tournament Scrabble, let alone even knowing how to play Scrabble. The oldest was 88, which surprised me because I've been at tournaments with people in their 90s. And I love the fact that one hobby can bring people of all ages together and they can end up playing in the same league, because with sports that can be different. There's gender separated hobbies, all kinds of things, but Scrabble is something that really brings everyone together. Um, in my division, I actually played against a guy he was 20. We got chatting. He was studying maths. I took him up to meet some other players who were mathematicians. He was delighted, and we struck a friendship. And we were kind of saying, "Isn't it amazing? There's a 40-year difference between us, but it's just invisible." Whereas that often is very blatant in some cultures. Also, I like asking people, what does the word retirement mean to you? When I meet people who have retired or who are coming up to that age, and often when I'm talking to people, I always pop that in. Uh, Even with younger people, I say, "What do you think when you think about retirement, someone who's retired?" And it definitely has this thing of being over the hill. And, you know, what I also noticed in Thailand is that I saw people who were ancient, working in markets, doing things. Some of them I even felt, despite everything I preach, you really shouldn't have to work this hard now. Some of them looked tired. What I did love at the floating market in Thailand, in Bangkok, was there was a group singing traditional songs, music, and the guy singing was definitely in his 90s, I would say, and some of the women working there too. So, um, yeah, it really got me thinking about how we define ourselves according to our age. I personally think the word old connects with used, because I would say, "Oh, that old thing," or "Oh, that's old now. I don't need it anymore." Um, Old and wise, elder, elderly. I'm not sure how those words come across. An older person, to me, insinuates somebody who's frail. Um, a young person, it's more invigorating, it's more active, you know, a young person is somebody who has energy. So how should we use those labels now? Because we are living this 20, 30 years longer that we hadn't planned with, that nobody prepared us for. And the problem is, if we call ourselves old, we're going to start acting old. So that got me thinking, and that is what made me go back and do another degree. And I did a dissertation where I looked at not ageism that comes from other people labeling us as old, but what comes from within ourselves. And in my dissertation, I looked at the concept that if we think ourselves old, we act older. And I asked the question, if a person thinks themselves old, there has been loads of research done on this that proves if you think yourself old, you will act older. You will be frailer than if you say, "Hey, I'm able to do everything." So I took a moderator and said, "Well, hang on a minute. What if we take people? We measured. Well, I did a survey with over 200 people, and I tested them on the happiness scale. I tested them on the internalized ageism scale, and normally, the older we feel we are, the less happy we are. But I said, let's take a look at people who say that they feel older or they have an internalized ageism, but let's see if they do a lot of physical exercise, will they score higher on the happiness scale? Because I thought this is a kind of a no-brainer. If you are uh, older and you're saying, "Oh my God, I'm really old," but you're active and you're doing things, then you probably won't be unhappy, because, as we know, sport is invigorating and sport is also good for our happy hormones, our endorphins, and all of that. So that's what I wanted to prove, that if you're active, and even though you think you're older, you won't be as unhappy. And I was wrong, so wrong. What turned out was that regardless of how active a person is, if you think yourself old, you are less happy. So let's say someone says, "Ah, look at me, I'm getting on. I'm in my late 60s. I have to make sure that I cycle every day, and I go to the gym, and I make sure that I walk, because because I'm not the person I used to be, and I'm not as fit as I used to be." All of the exercise will not help your mental well-being. I was really surprised at that. A few other things came up as well, which didn't really surprise me, and that is, the older people are, the less unhappy they are. It surprises some people. People in their 70s score higher on the happiness scale than people in their 60s. And there has been a lot of research done on this. And what they take from it is that people who feel that their mortality is becoming more and more visible start to become more thoughtful about what their values are in life, and live accordingly and feel happier. Another thing is that internal ageism is worse with males than females. I thought maybe women, image, whatever, but no, men are suffering more from internalized ageism. It could be, this is not any proof, but it could be that that men sometimes connect very deeply with their work roles, their career roles, and when they leave those careers, they feel less valuable than they were before. Um, So back to you're not the youngest, are you? I was very happy that I'm in tune with this because if I said, "That's right, I'm over 60," and this hoarse voice is because of the fun I had last week in Thailand, not because I'm over 60. I might have given off the impression of, I'm this nice older person who likes to play word games. But rather to say, no, no, I'm only 61 and I'm still running around the globe playing with people of all ages, doing a hobby that is for all ages. And it felt much more invigorating. So I was delighted to be able to represent myself not as an older person, but as a young person of 61. Because come to think of it, if I'm lucky enough, I could live another 40 years. Who knows? It could be a day. But whatever long it is, I'm not doing it as an old person. I'm doing it as me because all you need is you and your mindset.